technically OTAs for the Vikings only. You see J.J. McCarthy there, and that's where we're going to begin. Look at him, all eyes on the first-round draft pick, leading the charge there for that offense that seemingly is stacked, trying to get him to the postseason. Here's head coach Kevin O'Connell asked today who QB1 is.
Haven't had to put out a depth chart or anything like that, but yeah, I would say Sam. Sam would be the guy I would look to based upon the spring he's had and really where he's at in his career and his quarterback journey and what he's been able to do coming in and really hit the ground running and really kind of take advantage of a competitive situation.
This is such a blessing for me. Like, I grew up watching Sam Darnold for my entire life. Being able to just sit there and watch him, watch Nick, watch Darren. It's not what they say to me, it's what they do. And just being a sponge and just observing them and eventually, hopefully, one day surpassing them. But right now, they're just phenomenal human beings that are, sharing their wisdom with me. And, I just can't thank them enough for that. And I can't wait for training camp.
Rookies just have a way of making people feel old. Sam Darnold's like, thanks, man. The Vikings begin their season against the Giants, followed by a difficult 4-game stretch you see against the 49ers, Texans, Packers, and Jets. 3 of those 4 teams have a top 10 defense entering this season, according to ESPN's Football Power Index. The lone exception is the Packers, who have the talent to move their way into the top 10. We think they're going to be really good. The Vikings head to London to face the Jets in Week 5, followed by their bye week. So when you think about actually visualizing who J.J. McCarthy, if he is the Week 1 starter, is going to have to deal with, it kind of puts it in perspective. Graz, what more can you tell us, though, about this quarterback competition out in Minnesota?
Yeah, look, I think it's pretty clear to everyone based on where J.J. McCarthy was drafted that he will be the quarterback of the Vikings eventually. If not, then they got it very wrong. So the question is when? When will he be ready to do that? And the Vikings have been very clear that they have a developmental plan in mind for J.J. McCarthy, and he has to hit certain benchmarks before they are certain that he is ready to go, that it won't be too much for him. If that's by Week 1, then great. He could be the starter Week 1. He could overtake Sam Darnold in camp. But if it's not, and they need to wait a little longer, they're comfortable going with Darnold, who somehow J.J. McCarthy grew up watching, which I can't get my head around that. I can't.
I know. I was right there with you, Graz. Dan, you heard the benchmarks that Graz is referring there. If you're Minnesota, how would you handle that timeline for McCarthy to get him ready when you need to?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is if J.J.'s going to be their starting quarterback Week 1, Kevin O'Connell will have to change as a coach, who's one of the best coaches in football. What I mean by that is if you look at the teams that we thought were playoff contending football teams that started rookies, there's a common denominator. Look at underneath where it says rookie QBs to make the playoffs. Bottom 5 in pass attempts per game, also a top 5 scoring defense. Now, the reason I mentioned Kevin O'Connell and having to change is in the last 2 seasons, Kirk Cousins was second in the NFL when it comes to attempts per game. He threw the ball almost 38 times a game. Most of those guys threw the ball around 20 times a game. So there'll have to be a contrast or a change with Kevin O'Connell. I think if you're the Vikings, the number one step is, can J.J. McCarthy handle all the pre-snap stuff that we like to do? The personnel changes, we've talked about it on this show, the different formations, shifts, and motions that are part of their offense. And then can he go operate and execute? He's got to start doing it in practice, all the things pre-snap and then all the things post-snap that, for this offense to function the way that Kevin O'Connell wants it to, that's a huge part of it. So you're just trying to see those markers before ever really asking the question, can he be the Week 1 starter?
Yeah, I don't think Kevin O'Connell is going to change, guys. I think he got a reputation of being one of the best play callers in this league because of how he calls plays and the weapons they have. And on top of that, you don't go out and give Justin Jefferson the money they gave him and say, hey, Justin, oh, by the way, we're now going to turn into this ground and pound football team. Like, those two just don't go together. So if J.J. McCarthy, who by all accounts, some people had as the top quarterback on their board, I know of at least 2 teams for a fact that he was their top quarterback on the board over Caleb Williams. If he is that guy and he is that talented, then at some point sooner than later, we expect him to be the starting quarterback in Minnesota, because we all sat on all these shows and said the most quarterback-friendly, the best system, the best place to be in was in Minnesota because of the weapons and because of the play calling. So if you are the guy who we think you are, J.J. McCarthy, why shouldn't you be the starting quarterback? Because you got all the weapons, You got the best play caller that was available among the quarterbacks that were taken. So why shouldn't he be the starter to open the season up?
Well, one, he could be the guy that they think he's going to be. Just don't expect it to happen in September, October, because that's unfair to rookies. Boog, my pushback would be this. While they have Justin, and I understand Kevin's one of the best play callers in the NFL, that doesn't mean that he can call the same games he did for J.J. McCarthy that he did for Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has been in the NFL for 8+ years. He mastered this system. So you can call pass plays all the time because you know he's going to make the right decision. You've got to gradually build to that. And the evidence we have, no matter who you are, is if you play good defense, and we think the Vikings are going to with Brian Flores, if you play really good defense and you can run the football efficiently and not have to constantly tax your rookie quarterback, then you could be a playoff contending football team. I think that's the expectation in Minnesota.
Yeah, it's going to take some time.
I agree with you from the standpoint of how you call the game. But to me, it's really unfair to ask Kevin O'Connell to go from throwing the football 40 times a game to now I'm going to make you throw it 20 times a game. If this quarterback is as talented, I'm not saying he's going to start out that way. But at some point, they got to push the football down the field to Justin Jefferson, to Addison, to Hockenson. Think about this, Dan. Happy U.S. Open week, by the way. Think about a guy who hits driver off of every tee. And now you're going to ask him, hey, here's a week I want you to hit 3-wood. Or hit 2-iron off every tee. Like at some point, your natural instincts kick in. It's going to be really hard to ask Coach O'Connell to do that.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if they sort of go more the route that Boog's talking about. And maybe that would be why you would see Darnold a little bit earlier to make sure that McCarthy, the rookie, is comfortable. It doesn't feel like they're going to force this one, and they shouldn't.
Do your best to kind of ignore the outside noise and just get to work. And I think, you know, that's where the confidence is built. It's through the work and just going out there and competing together, coming close together.
I think that's the mentality everybody has to have. Is, I mean, whether you're a proven guy or a rookie, you got to be able to have confidence in yourself. Because I mean, it starts with you. You got to be able to believe in yourself before the coaches and the teammates will. But also, I mean, never having that mindset of being complacent or thinking you made it.
Dan, what have you seen from Jordan Love that gives you a lot of hope heading into the season?
Well, everybody with him. That was really the difference last year. Jordan grew a lot, no question, but they became an offense that was very difficult to match up against because you saw the development of Christian Watson when he was healthy. You saw development of Reed when he got a little bit more comfortable. Musgrave and Kraft at the tight end positions, and then Romeo Doubs. And so you saw this group that was maybe not this household name stars, but they had 5 or 6 guys that were very difficult to match up against defensively, especially if you tried to play man coverage. So teams started to play a little bit more zone coverage. And then what happened was Jordan Love absolutely destroyed zone coverage on the back end of the season because they saw so much of it, because everybody around them started to develop as a viable threat. And I think we're going to continue to see that for the Green Bay Packers offense in 2024.
Yeah, what a transformation. You see it as the numbers bear out. Dan pointing that out. Boog, along those lines, what do you think the game plan needs to be specifically this season with Love when it comes to run versus pass?
Well, I think they're going to run the football. There's no doubt about that with Jacobs. You know, you don't go out and get a guy like that and not run the football. But make no mistake about it. This is a passing league. And even though they're going to run the football and give him his fair share, this is going to be on Jordan Love. And I think you want to see the next step from Jordan Love. Dan, I'd love to hear your opinion on this. To me, you're right. The second half of last season, Jordan Love took his game to the next level. So now what's next for him? I think the next thing for him is, regardless whether it's man, zone, regardless of the coverage, in crunch time, can we win because of you, not because of the system? Can you go above the X's and O's and start to make plays and win because of your performance? That's what the great ones do. That's what Mahomes does. That's what Josh Allen does. I want to see him take that next step.
Here's the thing with that, Boog, is in this system, which is the Kyle Shanahan system, I often say quarterbacks that are the best at it, let the system be the star. So if you're Jordan Love, you got to continue to let Matt LaFleur and the play calling in the system be the star, and then in moments certainly have those big-time performances. But if he makes it about me and my growth and my development, that's when I think he can get himself into trouble this year.
That's exactly what I mean. Play the system, but at certain moments, in those moments, you got to be able to make big-time plays. Sorry about that, Graz.
No, it's all good. I think it goes back to what Dano was talking about at the beginning of this conversation, which is what that young Packers offense went through together last year, the young group around Jordan Love. And I was working on a story that's up on ESPN.com right now, if anybody wants to go read it after the show, about roster building. And I talked to Brian Gutekunst, the GM, and he talked about that group last year. And he said that the confidence the coaching staff had in them to play them as young guys, he said everything they went through, the difficult times last year, they were going through it together. So when they came out on the other side, they had all this shared scar tissue to build on. So I think they'll continue to build on that. They believe in Jordan Love. I think the Packers believe in him, and will show that with a contract extension at some point before the season starts. They bring in Josh Jacobs, the running back, who's had a little bit of a hamstring thing this offseason, but they don't seem too worried about that. Younger at running back than Aaron Jones, and they feel like they're on the ascent.